In our first video, we compared several popular ideas about the purpose of the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus. In this video, we want to dig a little deeper into one particular understanding, the one we called Christus Victor, or the victorious Christ. The Christus Victor understanding of the atonement assumes that the problem Jesus came to solve was not about God's need to punish or payment to the devil. Instead, it said that people were enslaved to sin and death, and that Jesus' life, teaching, death, and resurrection defeated death and evil, making what was wrong right, and freeing people from the evil that enslaved them. We call Christus Victor the classic theory of atonement because it's what most of the early Christians believed, that the death of Christ defeated the powers of evil and brought about liberation from the bondage of sin, death, and the devil. The Lutheran theologian Gustav Allen discovered that instead of the cross being about the anger of the Father taken out on the Son, in the Christus Victor understanding, the Father and the Son are united in the work of the cross. They are working together to defeat evil and death. The resurrection was a natural consequence. It was the sign that death was defeated. So what about the devil? The Apostle Paul seems to explain the devil as the one who tells us lies about the real problem and solution. Instead of finding life in the way God created us to live, the lie is that we will find life in exploiting the people, places, and things around us for things like money, power, and sex. This is a deadly way to live for everyone and everything. In the Old Testament and in the Gospels, we see that even the law can become a death dealer, and that people try to find life in it. In the creation and fall narrative in Genesis, it's referred to as the tree of knowledge of good and evil. But the point is that trying to get life through the law, or by any means other than the way God intended, is a lie that kills. Two other ancient theologians, Justin Martyr and Irenaeus, described the work of Christ with the word recapitulation, meaning that Jesus went through the same stages of life that we all do: birth, life, and death. And because he defeated death, he gives us the opportunity to share in his abundant life. In other words, Jesus became what we are, that he might bring us to be even what he is himself. The Apostle Paul describes sin as a fearful slavery which Christ defeats and frees us from. And the writer of Hebrews told us that Jesus freed those who through fear of death were subject to slavery all their lives. The Gospels pictured Jesus confronting this enslavement in many ways. Nicodemus and the Pharisees tried to find life and security in their religion, or life in the law. The woman at the well was trapped by her society and had spent years looking for life and security in a husband, only to find herself tossed from man to man. The rich young man sought life in his power and possessions, but was also trying to ensure that he went to heaven someday. For Pilate, security and life were provided by Rome, or life through state identity. But all of them were just living in an agreement with death in which they found their identity in something destructive. In each case, their encounters with Jesus exposed that what they were all trying to solve was the emptiness and futility of death. In his life and death, Jesus continually entered the place or circumstance that everyone wanted to avoid. He was born in a situation that people would have looked on with shame. In his childhood, he was a refugee. He lived in poverty. He lived as a servant. He associated with social outcasts. And when he entered Jerusalem before he died, he was accepting that he would be killed. And by accepting it, he was defeating the power that death holds over us. Even his friends Peter, who denied him because he was afraid of death, and Judas, who betrayed him for the same reason, were overcome by their fear of death. That's why we think that when Jesus was on the cross, he wasn't confronting God's wrath. Instead, he was confronting the forces of evil that were killing him, the Jewish rulers, the Romans, Judas, and the part of Judas that is in all of us. He was defeating our fear of death, the fear that is so strong that it will try to sacrifice other people, places, animals, and things in order to save ourselves. It is that fear of death that creates problems like nationalism, racism, ethnocentrism, egocentrism, sexism, ableism, poverty, and all forms of evil that would turn to violence and killing as salvation. That is also why, at Forging Ploughshares, we say it was human violence that killed Jesus, not God's violence. Jesus' death confronted and defeated evil and bound the evil one. And because he did, his empty tomb exposed the weapon of the enemy, death as empty. So in his life, death, and resurrection, Jesus defeated the lying power of the devil that deludes people with sin. He resisted all the temptations of the devil, which tempted him to avoid death and grab for life through material gain or powerful status. And he undid and defeated the lie in his death and resurrection by emptying out the power of death that the devil wields. We believe that the Christus Victor understanding is the best way to understand what the cross of Jesus really means. In our next video, we'll talk more about how poor views of the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus have created a poorer form of Christianity.